have the pleasure today of interviewing Bonnie Hoffman, the owner-operator of Pine Box Funerals, Inc. Welcome, Bonnie.
Well, thank you, Glenda, for coming out today.
It's really great to have Bonnie here, and I'm going to be asking Bonnie a few questions today about her industry, which of course, as Bonnie is a funeral director for Pine Box. Tell us a little bit about Pine Box Funerals, Bonnie.
Well, Glenda, I can tell you that I've been a funeral director for about 15 years. Pine Box Funerals, my company, has been around now for almost 5 years. And I provide after-death care services to families as they're needed. Pine Box Funerals, or Pine Box, where did that come? Man, through the years I've heard a lot of stories about guys who use just throw me out into the back 40 after I've been cremated in a pine box. And that seems to make an emotional connection for people. So with regard to COVID-19, I don't think that it has had a big impact on what goes on in a funeral home. What it has really impacted is the way that families are able to celebrate the life of their loved one. You know, there have been restrictions on gatherings and how many and how few, and so I think that there are many families that are planning to have their celebration of life in the summer and in ways that will be very honoring to their loved one that they haven't been able to do during this time.
I would imagine that as a funeral director, that this may take also an emotional toll on those in your industry, because we do have a more significant death rate at this time.
It is a little more significant, but in the Edmonton area, it's not as significant as, say, in the Calgary area. It's very different there. So it's taking its toll. You know, we're like everybody else. We have to follow rules. We have to obey public health orders, directives, and take all of the appropriate precautions so that we all stay safe. I'll tell you a little bit about cremation and the urns that we have here. So, you know, the reason you're here is because Pine Box is a local company, and that is what you are really good at promoting. And so I too like to promote local folks. Both of these urns here are, this one that Glenda's holding is handcrafted by artist Ken Houghton. Ken Houghton is a Pride of Strathcona award recipient, and he has a beautiful little shop where he takes great pleasure in handcrafting urns for families. This other one is, this urn is a biodegradable urn, and so it can go into the ground and it will biodegrade. But what is really kind of fascinating about this one is it was hand painted by Shauna Manson. Shauna is a local Strathcona County artist and entrepreneur, and so Shauna painted this one. There are many options for families nowadays. We're a transient society, and sometimes our kids aren't here, our parents aren't here, and so we have to figure out how to make it all work. And what is becoming more common these days is families who select small keepsakes. It is nice to have a little bit of a treasure of your loved one to keep rather than all of the remains. And so you can get little stars, you can get little urns. There is jewelry that is available nowadays. These little tubes here, that one that you have in your hand is called a little scattering tube. And those are very popular with families who are looking to scatter some remains. It makes for a very simple process of scattering rather than some of the, I could tell you some stories of scatterings that have gone wrong. And so, looking back on them, families often laugh about it, but at the time it wasn't funny. And I like to do whatever I can to make sure that you have a good grief experience. And so jewelry is a very popular item among families these days. The jewelry that I promote is Canadian made. And so there are pendants, this little Inukshuk here, if you can get in there nice and close. It is a really nice little piece of jewelry. And if we just go and turn it around to the back, there is a little spot there where I put in a little bit of remains. And so for someone who is interested in a little keepsake, but nothing big, the jewelry is really quite a beautiful keepsake. This one here is called, this is the Inukshuk. This one here is an infinity pendant. And so it goes round and round. It's the infinity. And there is room in there for a little bit of remains as well. And so I have quite a collection of jewelry available. I have a nice little box that you can pick from, catalog. So it comes in, you can choose earrings, there are bracelets, there are pendants. And so the options that are available really are easily customized to what a family member would like.
Thank you so much, Bonnie, for joining me today on 360 Alberta. Is there anything in closing that you're just burning to share with us before we close?
Well, most people, Glenda, so there is, but most people would use the term that you're dying to share with us. And so, you know what? I appreciate that you came out here today and we did this together. I want for people to know that Pine Box is open and available. If you have questions, there's some awkward questions, but there are no dumb questions. Information is readily available here. All you got to do is pick up the phone and give me a shout, or go to my website, pineboxfunerals.ca.
This is Glenda Sheard, Community Connector for 360 Alberta. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to chatting with you again soon.